There we go. Now we are.
It's just because it says it's still preparing up there. Do you see that? It normally says it's streaming. So yeah, the plan is we will upload it if we get interrupted again. All right.
Okay.
So people are signing on. Let's just go ahead and get going. We had just some recentering moments for you guys with some reflections and meditations and poems. And that's really what this space is going to be, is a kind of prayerful, spiritual space to recenter yourself midday.
Yeah, so let me jump in and just offer a very brief poem that I have thought about quite a bit over the past couple of years, but it's been on my heart and mind over the past few days. And it's a kind of a classic by William Carlos Williams. I just put it in the comments there for you. Aurelia, what are you dying about?
Jana is so clever. She said bringing Sexty back.
I know, I see that. She wins. That is funny. Let me just read the poem and offer a thought. He writes, "So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens." What an enigmatic, curious thing for him to write. And yet over the past, I don't know when he wrote this, in the past 100 years, this has really spoken to people. And it speaks to me, and I'm curious, Aurelia and Fran, if it speaks to you as well. But just some of the things it conjures up for me are this big question of why. Why does that matter so much to him? Why do things matter to us that matter to us? What does he see that the poet invites us to see? And to me, it's an invitation to notice. Like, he is noticing even down to the drops of water on his wheelbarrow, and something about that, I assume it's his, but something about that speaks to him. Maybe the gift of rain. Maybe he looks at the wheelbarrow as a tool for somebody's livelihood, or a way to nurture the earth, or manual labor through which maybe he finds some kind of salvation for his mind and body. He notices the small things. For me, that's an invitation to notice the microaggressions that we do against ourselves and against one another, these little ways that we harm each other. And some people don't like the term microaggression because the impact is not micro. The impact can be very, very painful for those who suffer microaggressions. Or it's an invitation to notice even the small gestures of love and kindness that we do for ourselves and for one another, and that God in grace gives to us every single day in every small moment. So I'll be quiet there. I wanted to just give you this poem real quick as an invitation to notice. Any thoughts from you two, or comments?
Well, as a worship pastor, I'm more and more coming to the understanding of worship as attention, and as you say, noticing and paying attention, and that we learn to worship from poets. Poets can teach us that.
Absolutely.
Tiffany said, is microaggression the same as passive aggressive? And I would say no. We ended again.
Did we really?
Okay, we'll just move on. Sorry.
All right, we're going to keep rolling.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that, but what are your thoughts, Aurelia?
Well, I would say no, because microaggressions are blatant. Even they're maybe smaller than physical violence or outright prejudice.
Yeah.
But it's still, you're being treated a certain way. Whereas passive aggression, it's different to me. But also the context that they're normally used in is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's sort of couched as criticism. And then if you get upset about it, then somebody says, well, stop nitpicking.
Right, or being so sensitive. Why are you so
Or you're
sensitive?
being, yeah, you're too sensitive.
Yeah, but it's something that might seem innocuous and harmless to the person doing it, where it's like, I'm asking, oh, where are you from? Because you're a person of color. And they're like, oh, I grew up in, Austin, Texas. And I'm like, well, okay, but where are you really from? Right? That's a microaggression that is othering somebody else by saying, you're not really, from here. I can tell, it's a way of othering somebody, putting them in a down position, whatever.
Mm.
I actually wanted to end on a positive note with that, though, by saying that it can also be small gestures of love and grace. And just the whole poem, to me, is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I have a devotion, I guess, from Listening to Your Life Daily Meditations with Frederick Buechner. And it's just, I looked at the one from today and I was like, if it's good, then I'll read it. And it was about love, which seems relevant all the time. So I'll just go ahead and read it. It's literally called Love. Okay. The first stage is to believe that there is only one kind of love. The middle stage is to believe that there are many kinds of love and that the Greeks had a different word for each of them. The last stage is to believe that there is only one kind of love. The unabashed eros of lovers, the sympathetic philia of friends, agape giving itself away freely, no less for the murderer than for his victim. These are all varied manifestations of a single reality. To lose yourself in another's arms or in another's company, or in suffering for all who suffer, including the ones who inflict suffering upon you. To lose yourself in such ways is to find yourself. It's what it's all about. It's what love is. Of all powers, love is the most powerful and the most powerless. It is the most powerful because it alone can conquer that final and most impregnable stronghold, which is the human heart. It is the most powerless because it can do nothing except by consent. To say that love is God is romantic idealism. To say that God is love is either the last straw or the ultimate truth. In the Christian sense, love is not primarily an emotion, but an act of the will. When Jesus tells us to love our neighbors, he's not telling us to love them in the sense of responding to them with a cozy emotional feeling. You can as well produce a cozy emotional feeling on demand as you can a yawn or a sneeze. On the contrary, he's telling us to love our neighbors in the sense of being willing to work for their well-being, even if it means sacrificing our own well-being to that end, even if it means sometimes just leaving them alone. Thus, in Jesus's terms, we can love our neighbors without necessarily liking them. In fact, liking them may stand in the way of loving them by making us overprotective sentimentalists instead of reasonably honest friends. When Jesus talked to the Pharisees, he didn't say, there, everything's going to be all right. He said, you brood of vipers, how can you speak good when you are evil? And he said that to them because he loved them. This does not mean that liking may not be a part of loving, only that it doesn't have to be. Sometimes liking follows on the heels of loving. It is hard work for somebody's well-being very long without coming in the end to rather like him too. So, is that okay? Is that easy to follow?
He's so full
Some
of
parts
paradox
easier.
there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's so full of paradox there.
Yeah, that's how I felt reading it. It was all paradox. It was all intention. And I liked what he said about, just Jesus telling us to love our neighbors, the way that he framed that as aside from emotion. Not that emotion, but again, it's all paradox. So I wonder if you thought
it to working for people's well-being. That was beautiful. Well, I brought this, an excerpt from this book, which is called Prayers of Honoring Grief by Pixie Lighthorse. And I like this. So I live at the intersection of poetry and prayer a lot of the time. And these are very poetic prayers. And I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but if you want to close your eyes and just give a mental assent to any lines that you hear, feel free. Thank you for this exhausting day of pure chaos. May I seek to loosen my stranglehold on what I cannot ultimately keep together so that deeper understanding of what is at work can flow in. May I dedicate myself to becoming more at ease with all that is flowering in directions I cannot stop. Help me see where I can be useful and focus my energies there. Reinforce my awareness that I can do my part for evolvement rather than striving unceasingly for perfection. Help me see control as the illusion of containing what is not mine to hold. Let me fall apart when I need to, and make room for others to splinter into smithereens too. Let there be a return to wholeness that offers more than can be found in a tight, anxious cluster. Let me make space for more possibilities to unfold, not just the one I hope for. I'm going to skip ahead a little. Open me to the real experience of life, free from the need to sweep up around it obsessively. Help me take care of the cluttered rooms in my mind, flushing out the buildup of reflexive patterns that no longer serve me. Help me cope with unpredictable circumstances and environments, knowing that I will find the tools to buffer my hyper-responsiveness. Help me learn to let go. Inspire me to delight in emancipation from the confinement of my ideologies of supreme exactness. Unshackle me from rigid expectations and smooth my brow with the hush of my appreciation of you. I just love Pixie Lighthorse.
Wow.
Such a fan of her.
Wow.
That was
Two things I wrote down, that she's striving for involvement, not perfection.
I think it was evolvement. Pardon.
Oh.
I may not have enunciated.
No, evolve, but to grow then is what she means.
Right. Growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Either one I absolutely love because they say, I just want to show up. I want to keep showing up. And then the second line, something about possibilities and not just the one that I plan or hope for.
Yeah.
Openness. She's so open to what the world is going to bring her. Like that Mary Oliver poem that Tiffany Leshber posted a week or two ago about somebody once gave me a box full of grief or a box full of blackness, and I didn't realize the gift that it would end up being.
Yeah, I liked the unshackle me from rigid expectation, which is a word for my soul, my being, is just to sort of accept, have a certain level of acceptance for my own peace. I know that we don't always just accept everything. We don't accept injustice. We don't accept harm to ourselves or others, but there's also a lot of peace when we can accept.
Yeah. And we can forgive what is in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good word. Thanks for ending with that. This is a weird first day of a new little segment we're rolling out, and it wasn't what we expected, but we're just going to go with it. And hopefully one or more of these little meditations spoke to you and what you needed today. I'm going to go ahead and end the video so that we can get off of here. And next Thursday, hopefully we'll be back live.
So weird.
Stay live.
I think it's me. Okay, it's me. So it'll probably be easier because we won't be going through Zoom for whatever reason. But we'll see. Let's see what's next. Happy hour sunrise hit tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we're starting a new series on Sunday called Embodiment, MEANT. And we're looking forward to that for our first fall series we have. So I'm going to stop the recording.